Good afternoon, dear teacher. My name is Marcelo Cano. I am a student in the English syntax class, and I am a student in the classroom 101. And this is my ID. This is my ID. That's my name. My picture. So in this video, the topic for today, or the topic of this video, is about syntactic linkage according to the grammatical functions. And the main topic is about the use of agreement and government cases. So let's start about the task. So before to start explaining about my task, I will explain about of the use of the colors that I chose for highlight the agreements and the government cases. So for agreement, I chose the color blue. And for the government cases, as we know, we have three different type of cases. So I chose for nominative cases, I chose the color green. For genitive cases, I chose the color red. For accusative and dative cases, I chose the color orange. So let's start. So this is my task that I wrote about one experience or one anecdote that I had when I was starting learning English as a foreign language in academic center. So I wrote and I described about one anecdote. Uh, and about one experience about when I was starting learning English. So so according to the topic or according to the task, as we know, I chose the color blue in order to highlight the agreements. So as we know, the agreements is related with the use of or the connection about singular or plural forms with the correct kind of the verb. So I had some examples here about of the use of the singular and plural forms with the correct verb. So, for example, I chose here. I followed the examples that I had in the didactic guide. So, for example, here, for example, when we use the word group of is considered like a singular form. So, for that reason, we have to choose the verb for the third person. So, for example, here a group of 500 verbs. Okay, so it's like a group. So, for that reason, I chose the verb was. Another example that I chose from the didactic guide or I follow from the didactic guide is about the use of the word percent. So, for example, here I have 80% of the class was having problems. So, in this case, the verb is in the singular form because the noun is considered like a singular form too. Another examples that I chose about I wrote about the agreements is when we use different subjects. So as I told you, like for example, group of this kind of um, these kind of words. So as we can see here, all of the verbs that I chose are related with the correct singular or plural form. Okay, next. So the next topic was about of the use government cases, about of the government cases. Also, about of the government cases, we have three different kinds or three different types of or about of the use of government cases. So for the first government case, there is about a nominative case. For these examples, I chose the color green. So I have here some examples in the color green. So this is about of the use the subject like a part of the sentence or like a noun. Okay, so for example, here in this example, I have the name of the teacher, in this case, Phil, that he and is connected with the noun teacher. Okay, so another example is when I wrote about one friend, in this case, Sarah. So is connected with she and friend. Okay, so this is about the use the nouns as pronouns. Okay, the next government case is known as a genitive case. So for genitive case, I chose the color red. So the genitive case is about of the use of the apostrophes or possessive adjectives. So for example, of the use of the apostrophe. So I wrote some examples here. So in this case, the learner's books. Another example that I wrote is about the student's book. Okay, so as I told you before, this is about of the use of the apostrophes. Okay, um, so I wrote two examples about this type of government case. And finally, the last government case type is known as accusative case. So in accusative case, we have three different types. This is divided in three groups: direct object, indirect object, and oblique object. So for this government case, I chose the color orange. So the first one is about direct object. So the direct object is like when one noun is when one noun is received by the person. It's like, so one thing is received by the person. See, so for example, in this case, I have, for example, he gave me a package of paper. So, or in this case, a package of paper was gave for me. So the next example is about the indirect object. So in the indirect object, I have some examples here. So for example, she gave us, Phil say us, or I decide give her. Okay, so it is when the person receives something. Okay, so in this case, we use the indirect object. So for example, gave me. Okay, so these are these kind of examples. And the last example about is known like of liquid object. So in the last part of the task, I have one example of this government case. So for example, is when we use the preposition to. Okay, so if something is gave to a person. Okay, so for example, in this case, he gave me newspapers to the students. Or I have another example here that say gave me a package of paper. Okay, so he gave a package of paper to my friend. Okay, so this is about the use of the liquid object. So these are the examples that I wrote in my task. So this is about my explanation of the agreement and government cases. So that's it for today. Thank you so much, and have a nice afternoon, teacher.